Welcome to Soul Communications reading. Today we're going to attempt to connect with your husband's energies. Your husband is showing up in uniform, but it also feels like he was in, I don't know if he had gone for combat training or it was an exercise of some sort that he had gone for, but he's showing up in combat uniform. I don't know if there's a separate uniform for combat, but he also seems to be somebody who was quite fit and not, I'm not thinking being very tall, maybe 5'8", 5'9". Can you confirm that if that is how?
Yes, 5'10".
Okay. So, and I'm also seeing that he was quite fit. I'm getting the age 35. Did he pass when he was 35 or before the age of 35?
Yeah, 31.
Okay. Because I feel like he had something planned for his 35th year, but it did not happen. That is a message that I'm getting. Like he was planning something for his 35th birthday. I don't know if it was a trip or like he was planning to get out of his contract with the Air Force. I'm not sure what it was, but something about the age of 35, he's pointing out to. He's also showing like a place, like I'm seeing like a place they had gone to before the crash happened. And I'm seeing this being like an area where there are no civilians. It feels like a practice ground or like some sort of a base camp or something that they had to go to. And I'm seeing him being very happy that day for a lot of reasons. Like he was happy that he was having a good day, but at the same time, I'm seeing this information in my mind where he's telling me that something happened that day that he was happy about. Does that resonate with you? Was there some information that
Yeah, that was the day when our son started going to school.
is it okay? Because there was some joy in his heart, and it feels like it was very infectious. Like he was constantly smiling, and he was waiting to get back home. So it feels almost like wherever he was, like it was a training that they had to go to. I don't see it being like an active duty, but it feels more like they had to go somewhere for a training or something of that sort. I'm not seeing too many people around him. It doesn't feel like he was surrounded by a lot of his colleagues, but I do see like it is a base of some sort. Like it feels like an army or navy base that he had gone to. He was not supposed to go out that day, and he was asked to go. Not because of, it almost feels like he was filling in for someone else. Like he was not supposed to be there that day. But he had to go because either one of his course mates didn't show up or something like that happened, and he had to go instead of that person. And he was okay to do it because he knew that after that he would be coming back home. I don't know if that does that resonate with you.
It's
Okay. Because that is what he's telling me. Like he was looking forward to coming back home, but he had to just do that one last thing. You know, that is how he's showing it to me. And I keep seeing that island or wherever that is. They had gone to a lot. Like he's focusing on that. I don't know if the incident happened there because your question was how did the crash happen, and he's showing me the technical check that had to happen did not happen properly or they were distracted with something. It like I'm seeing like two or three other people with him at with an aircraft. It feels like a carrier aircraft. It doesn't feel like one of the fighter planes. It feels more like a carrier aircraft, and they're loading something onto it. Like I don't know if they were loading or unloading from it, but the side of the aircraft is open, and I'm seeing like inside is a cargo hold.
it was just a transport aircraft, and they were on patrolling.
It was a transport aircraft. Like, so it did it open by the side? Would you know? Like, because I'm seeing like
Yeah, but in the air it wouldn't open.
not in the air. It was on the ground, and they were trying to do a technical check on the plane. And I'm seeing that the side of the airplane is open, and I'm seeing like a cargo hold. I don't think it's not. It doesn't look like a huge cargo plane, but at the same time, it doesn't look like a fighter plane where only two people sit.
It was not a fighter plane.
So it feels like some sort of a carrier plane. It feels like if they were taking something or unloading something or something of that sort, because I'm seeing the cargo hold open. And I'm seeing the other people also laughing and talking about something. And the feeling he's giving me is that I should have checked. I should have double checked everything, you know? because whoever was checking the technical aspect of the plane didn't do a proper job. Like she did not fully check for any technical faults. And I'm also seeing that whatever they were loading or unloading, there was some other box in the plane, like a crate or something of that sort, which wasn't strapped properly. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't like the strapping of it was not done properly. They thought they did it properly because what he's showing me the next scene is like in the air, it kept moving about a little bit. So he got up to kind of make that strap tighter, and then something happened. Okay, so he also is giving me this feeling of some sort of amnesia. Like I don't know if it is because of the accident, the crash that happened. He doesn't remember some bits and pieces of it, but he's telling me what happened before, and then he's showing me bits and pieces of what happened on the plane, and then you know everything is gone calm. Okay, so I'm going to show it to you or tell you or explain it to you the best I can with the way he's showing it to me. And the way he's showing it to me was that there was some crate or a box or something of that sort on the aircraft which was not tightly locked in place, and they were the only ones there at the base. I'm seeing 3 or 4 people at the max. I'm not seeing too many of them, and I'm seeing the other 2 people were also laughing and joking, and there was this one guy under the plane checking something. But he also kind of joined in with them with the conversation they were having, and it was a very fun conversation. I'm seeing all of them like lighthearted and having fun. And I feel someone overlooked something. That is the sense he's giving me. And he also feels like he was responsible for it. Like your husband was supposed to double check and cross check everything, but he did not. He trusted his guys and he says they would have anyway checked. I was just, the extra person that had to come on board to replace someone else who was supposed to be there. He was just in a holiday mood already, your husband. He was ready to go home. Like he wasn't in that work mode, by the end of that trip. So he didn't double check. So he says it was my responsibility. I should have double checked as well. And then I'm seeing them taking off. Everything seems good when they have taken off. Talking about the plane, he's showing me that when he was on the plane, everything was going well when they took off. But I'm also seeing something wrong with a gauge, like a meter or something that gauges altitude or something of that sort, because I'm seeing that he was not the one flying the plane. He was sitting behind the guy who was flying the plane. And the guy who was flying the plane was noticing that there was something wrong with a particular gauge. And your husband noticed that that cargo hold, that belt wasn't strongly tied down to the ground. So I see like him unbuckling, like I'm seeing him sitting on the side. Like when I say behind the pilot, I don't see him like sitting behind the pilot, but it's like a side seat. And he got up, he unbuckled it to go and put that strap tighter on that box, okay, because it was right next to him. And then the nose of the plane went down. Like it feels like it just went down and he was thrown because of that sudden dip. He went and he hit the cockpit or like that wherever those controls are, right? So that is what I'm seeing. But I feel like when he already hit his head at that time, and I feel like he had probably lost consciousness or he didn't know what was happening, because I'm getting this feeling of not able to remember what happened next. So either he lost consciousness or it feels like he had hit his head so hard that he got disoriented. Like he couldn't remember what happened next. So that is the feeling that I'm getting. And then the plane crashed. And I'm seeing 3 people on the plane. Were there 3?
Yes.
Your husband was like the extra person on the plane. He was not supposed to be there, but he had gone there because somebody else was supposed to go and they couldn't go. So they called him to go before he went off duty. And if he hadn't gotten up from the seat at the time he did, there were chances that maybe they would have been able to kind of rescue him or something of that sort. But the plane went down in water. So it was a very thin chance for rescue anyway, because it was the middle of nowhere. I'm also seeing like by the time the plane crashed, it was sometime in the evening, like the sun had gone down. There was not much light. Like I can hear Mayday, 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 like I'm hearing those guys in the cockpit saying Mayday quite a bit, but they were not able to control the flight. And I'm also seeing at the same time, one of the right engine, I'm seeing dark smoke coming out of the right side of the wing of the plane. So I don't know if something went into the plane, like a bird or something like that, and then it kind of got stuck and the engine shot, and the gauge that was gauging the altitude, it kind of went all haywire. And at the same time, your husband got. So it was like it all happened simultaneously. It wasn't something that, it was more like an accident. It was not, they're giving me this feeling it was a technical difficulty, but it was not something that they had done. I'm seeing the right engine failing. Like I'm seeing the plane and I'm seeing dark smoke coming out of the right wing of the plane. Would you know how the plane crashed?
Oh, no.
They haven't given you any information on.
No, they did not reveal.
Because I'm seeing like smoke coming out of the engine on the right side, just under the propeller, like either something went into the propeller of the plane and got stuck, and that kind of short circuited something. So I'm also feeling the reason they're saying it was a technical difficulty is because whatever got stuck in the propeller, it short circuited a wire which was supposed to be replaced but didn't get replaced. It was like a faulty connection or something like that. That kind of made the whole thing even worse. Had that been proper, they would have still landed somewhere and been safe. That is the feeling they're giving. I'm seeing that something got stuck. I'm sensing it's a bird. It feels like it got stuck and the propeller stopped rotating. And because of that friction of the propeller trying to rotate, it kind of sent like a blown fuse or something like that into the wiring system. And then the whole plane just, I'm seeing it going down like this. It just crashed in the water. So I feel there was nothing anybody could have done. It went down so far that there was no chance of getting to a higher altitude or saving themselves. Something went terribly wrong instantly, like one after the other, like everything just stopped working. So the guys didn't know what to do. And when the nosedive happened, your husband went rolling down and hit his head. Because he's not telling me anything after that. I'm not seeing anything after that. So it either feels like he was already unconscious when the plane crashed. So he didn't really know how he died. And I feel that is why there is this ambiguity about his death, because nobody knows how they died. But I feel that the ones who were strapped in, like the other pilots who were strapped in, they had a even bad way of going, because I feel like they were torn apart because of the impact, because they were seated. With your husband, it was a completely different thing. He had already been unconscious. He was already halfway gone before it crashed. They're showing me the full action scene kind of a thing where the smoke coming out and then the nosedive of the plane and nothing. After that, it's like just blank. Like it feels like even they can't remember what happened after that. They can't remember, because I feel like before it touched the water and crashed, all the souls on board left. Your husband didn't really feel the accident because he was already gone, because there was no way of rescue. It happened later in the night. I'm seeing darkness outside, like probably after 6 o'clock in the evening. I feel it was somewhere around either, I don't know if it was around February, because I'm getting this month of February.
It was in June.
But he's giving me this feeling like just after winter and spring is coming. So it's like the feeling he's giving me like it was winter time. That's the feeling that I'm getting. Everything flashed by and he thought it was winter. That is the feeling I'm getting. He's giving me this sensation of when you come out in the evening on a winter's night, there is a kind of a fog plus that coolness of the breeze, and there's something about that. So he's telling me it felt like winter. It felt like a winter's evening. It was a very nice memory he's giving me. It's not scary. It's not something that he was scared about. He just felt like it was a nice winter's evening. That was his last thought, is what I'm thinking. That was what it was. Because the way he's showing it to me was like something in February, and it was a nice winter's evening. Did anything happen with you and him?
Yeah. Every Feb 19th, we would celebrate our love anniversary, actually.
Okay, so that is what I'm saying, right? He's telling me about a February night. It was a nice evening, is what he's saying. When he crashed, that was what he can remember. Okay, because I'm getting goosebumps right now, because he's making me feel like when he crashed and when he saw like the night sky, his last thought was it was a very nice February night. And that was why I felt like he might have crashed in the month of Feb, but he was actually remembering a February night. So if you're saying that your love anniversary was on the 19th of Feb every year, was there one of those times when y'all had spent it in a cool place. Either you guys went out on a walk or you were walking on the road and it was nighttime. Did he propose on one of those nights? Or?
Yes, that is why we would celebrate that day.
All right, okay. Because it feels like that was his best memory. So he's telling me that was a very nice February night. That was the last thought he had in his mind. I feel like when he hit his head, he went back, like he had retrograde amnesia or something of that sort, where he kind of was still thinking he had just proposed because that was the last memory that he's showing me that he had. Because the nice February night is what he was saying. Now that you mentioned that it was your love anniversary or he proposed on the 19th of Feb, it's making more sense to me because, when I receive information, I receive it in bits and pieces. I feel like they didn't find the bodies because they went down, like they sank with the plane. It also feels like with your husband's body, it feels like something was tied to his leg, like, the belt from the crate that he was trying to like tighten. It feels like when it crashed, a cord of that particular belt got stuck around his foot and it took him down, like, so he was already gone by then, but most of the bodies were not found because they were still strapped in and it went down with the craft. They couldn't find the bodies. They only found bits and pieces of it afterwards, is what I'm feeling. Because of the fish, or like there might have been some sort of, I mean, this is very ghastly, but like some of the limbs got cut off because of the impact of the crash. And they only found bits and pieces, is what I'm feeling. Because where they crashed, it is quite deep ocean. It's not like something they could do, send divers and find the bodies. It's too deep. That was the reason why they couldn't find the bodies. The ocean kind of took them in. But I don't see them ever finding the bodies because it's not possible for divers to go that deep to search. Even the plane bits, they didn't find the entire plane. I feel like they found only bits and pieces of the aircraft. I don't think that went back and collected the whole thing to see what went wrong. I don't think they could find anything except for a few pieces. I'm seeing very few pieces of the aircraft, bits of the wing and some other floaty bits, like something that could float instead of sinking. Those kind of bits they found, but they didn't really find the entire craft. So they also don't know what happened. It's like a mystery to them, like what happened. But what I'm seeing, it was faulty wiring. The wiring had to be changed or upgraded or something of that sort. That didn't happen. It got delayed for some reason. And when that bird went and got stuck in the propeller engine, it kind of short-circuited everything. So it was an accident. It wasn't anybody's fault. But at the same time, it could have been avoided, is what I'm saying. So it feels like it was his last trip before he came back home for a holiday. And this is when it happened. So that regret is there that he should have probably said no. But he's like, but I didn't know this was going to happen. So there's a confusion with him regarding that. I'm so sorry. I know after all these years, it's still very painful to hear this. The only thing I can tell you was he did not suffer. He went very fast. It wasn't like the other guys. The other guys they couldn't get out. They drowned. But he had already left by then because of that head injury he had. In that way, he's telling me he didn't suffer. He didn't even know what happened after. So he wasn't aware of it. The next thing he knew was he was back at the base. That is what he remembers. He feels like he was back at the base. And he keeps showing me that place that they were before they flew out. He keeps feeling like he's still there, like he's still back at that base. Now, obviously, he's transitioned, so he has more information. But for a very long time, he didn't know what happened. He was very confused. So he kept going back to the base. Right.
Any messages that he wants to give to me and my children?
See, I don't know how you're going to take this, but he keeps saying you need to move on. You need to move on. That is something that he's going on telling me. I don't know if you haven't moved on yet or you are still stuck and you don't know whether you should move on, but he keeps saying you need to move on. You need to live your life the way we have planned for each other. So it feels like there have been plans that you guys had made. And he's saying, even if I'm not there, you need to move on and do all of those things. And he's very emotional about it because I'm getting this feeling of immense love coming from his side. And he's saying, be practical. You need to move on. That is what he's saying. Okay. He doesn't want you to hold on to the past. He wants you to let go and move on. He's saying, it's not like if you let me go, I'm not going to disappear from your life or you will not forget me, but you need to move on, is what he's saying. So I feel like the reason you don't want to move on is because you feel like if you let him go, then he will be gone completely, you know, and that the memory of him also will fade away eventually. So you're trying to hold on to every little thing that you can from his life, from his past, from your past together, and he doesn't want that for you. He says you need to move on. He's also showing me that the kids are already feeling the heaviness of your emotions every single day. I'm seeing your kids are very quiet or very reserved or introverted, like, at least when they're outside or with in certain situations or circumstances. And I feel like it's because they feel that heavy emotion coming from you every single day. So he says you need to move on, at least for the kids, so that they can move on with their lives as well. Because you're holding the kids and yourself stuck in one place, you know? It's like you don't want to let go of that particular timeline. Because if you do, then it means that he's gone. He is not gone, he is with you, but you need to let go of your hold on his memory. So he's also saying this in Telugu. He's like, నేనేం అనుకోనులే. He's saying, okay, in a very funny way, like he's saying, నేనేం అనుకోనులే. It almost feels like if you start dating someone or if you like someone, he's joking about it and he's saying, నేనేం అనుకోనులే. He feels like you need to move on, like emotionally as well. So if there is somebody who is there for you, to take care of you, to take care of the kids, to be your support, emotional support, like a partner, he says, I'm not going to feel bad about it. I want you to move on because that is something that he feels like you are stuck all those years ago, like when his death happened. It's been 6 years now.
Yes.
9 years.
Yeah.
It feels like from the last 9 years, you are still there. We haven't moved on. So he's trying to move on. It's time to let go and move forward. You can't keep holding on to that. So that is something that he's very clearly saying. I'm seeing like a boy and a girl. Do you have like a boy and a girl?
Yes. He has not seen his girl.
Oh, but he's telling me she has seen him a lot of times. Yeah. Because children can see, energies and spirits and things like that. So she's already seen him. So she doesn't feel, I don't think she feels bad about her father, but the son feels like responsible somehow. Your son feels like he should take care of you. I'm getting this feeling like he's growing up sooner than he's supposed to. It feels like he's quite mature for his age, your son. And he also talks about either going into the defense or Air Force at some point.
Yeah, like both of them say that.
But I'm seeing like your son, especially, I'm getting this feeling like he has grown up faster than he's supposed to because of your emotional uh, instability, I would say, because you have these moments when you are okay, and then there are these moments when you are completely, deeply depressed. So he's been watching you yo-yo from being okay to being completely unraveled. So he has taken upon himself that he has to take care of you. So he's already getting into a role of an adult when he's just supposed to have fun. So your husband is pointing this out to me. Your daughter, on the other hand, feels fine. Like she doesn't seem to have any of these heavy emotions because she is just happy that, okay, one day I will be like my dad. But your son is more like, I have to take care of her. I have to be responsible. I have to. So he's growing up faster than his age. So that is something that he feels like you shouldn't be doing that for him. You should allow him to just be a kid because if you move on, he will relax. If you're going to be this person who can't move on because she doesn't want to move on, it's kind of rubbing off on the kids as well. If you don't want your son to become serious every day, then you need to lighten the burden that he's carrying because he feels responsible for you, is what your husband is saying. But I feel like he's the one who's going to go into the defense. If he's not already planning, he might want to train to write, the defense exams and all that very soon, like at the age of 16 or 18, to see if he can get through earlier on so that he won't, waste any time getting into the defense. But your husband is also giving me this feeling like you don't want him to do that. Like you don't want your son to go into defense, or you want him to on one hand, but on the other hand, you're like, what if something like that happens again? I can't take that. He's saying let him do what he wants to do. He's just a kid. His ideas will keep changing. But right now he feels like because of the way you are, he should be responsible for you as the man of the house.
He's more attached and he is mostly like his dad, like keeps teasing me because I'm very short and he's growing fast. So he is like fun only, but as you said, he's not very outgoing when in public, like with relatives or with other family members. He's not the same
Because
he's very like naughty and teasing and everything at home, but outside he's a bit reserved. With his friends he's good, but not with other relatives or families.
he wants people to see him as a responsible child, like he's taking care of his. So that is why when he's out with relatives and family, he feels he has to portray that I'm a man of the house. At a subconscious level, he's carrying a lot of burden, your son. That is something that he needs to be told. He's been watching them grow up, and he's reminding me that he's already told you this when we had a session earlier, like many years ago, that I'm there, I'm watching them grow up. You don't have to worry about them. So he's watching them grow up. He doesn't have any messages for them at the moment.
And Teja, his family, like his parents, have not performed his last rites yet. Saying that he'll come back, he'll come back. They keep that thought for me also. Like they don't want me to move on. I don't want to move on as like moving on doesn't mean that I have to move on in relationship. I think otherwise I've moved on and like I have accepted his death, his absence. But they are not performing his last rites yet. So I was planning to do it next year because next year it would be 10 years. Long time. So what does he have to say about that? His last rites are not yet done. That is one thing that keeps haunting and pinching me because he has a big family, but nobody has done anything for him.
So the rituals that we do are for ourselves. He's reminding you that it's not for the person who's gone, because they're anyway in a good place. They don't need any of these rituals to kind of put them in a good place. He's already in a good place. The rituals are for those who are left behind to kind of emotionally come to terms with the loss and slowly and steadily get themselves out of it. So if they perform a ritual, it's like confirming to themselves that yes, this has happened and we have to let them go, right? But for the person who's passed on, doing or not doing these rituals don't really matter. If you want to do the ritual to kind of bring closure to everybody in the family, you could. He's saying to do that because you need to kind of disconnect yourself from the rest of the family who believes that he's going to come back, because it's not allowing you to move on. If you say you want to go to another place or another location or another country, take your kids and go, you're unable to do that because you're still connected with his family and his family's ideas of him coming back. They also will have to accept it at some point. I feel like, except for his father, everyone else kind of knows that he's not coming back. I feel like his mother also holds on to the hope that he'll come back. But more than that, I feel his father is the adamant one. The father is like, no, I know he's going to come back. So the mother, I feel at this moment, somewhere she knows he's not going to come back. She knows that. But she keeps saying, yes, no, he will come back because of her husband. It is his dad who has that thought in his head that he is going to come back. Does that make sense? Is that how it is?
Yes. Mother is also in denial, but I think, as you said, maybe it is because her husband's belief.
When it comes to the father, he's got like, either it's like a trauma response for him or something like that, but it's just stuck in his head that his son is going to come home. It's not something anyone can change in his mind. But if you want to do the ritual for him next year, he's asking you to go ahead and do it because it's going to give you closure. So it's not for him, it's for you. That is why he's saying move on. Move on, do something with your life and create something new and better with your life. So that is why he's saying, I will not feel bad, like if you move on. He wants you to know that. Because somewhere I think subconsciously you're thinking that if I do this and if I move on, then what will he feel or what will he think? But that is not the case here. So I think it's time to let go of him and move forward with your life so that you can create a better future for your children. These are the messages I have for you today. I hope they're helpful.
Thank you so much.